Looks like I may have lost the earlier video, so let's start from scratch. Before we see, these are all the segments of the tripod hoist that I've built. So basically each leg is basically two pair or one pair of floor jacks. So we've actually got 4, 8, 12 segments, and I forget if they were 35 bucks, 35, 40 bucks a pair or for two pair. Then we talked about these pins and welding the collar at the end of these. And if you need some extra stability, you're in strong or soft ground or whatever, screw these pins in there, and basically they become a spike in the ground. At the bottom of each leg, we're going to end up with a safety chain going from leg to leg to leg. So we need 3 chains, and then these hitch pins with a couple of with some snap rings on them. These hitch pins are 5/8. I think they're grade 8, and with these handles on, they make moving this thing around super easy. We've got 3 hitch pins to interlock all these tubes and telescope it. You can see that you're gonna have to drill some more holes. You're smart enough to figure that out. Or if you need some assistance, watch my other videos on this chain hoist, and they're a bit lengthy and unedited, but you know, it's what it is. I'm trying to inform. I'm not into video production. To tie it all together at the head, we've got about a 12-14 inch grade 8 bolt connecting the 3 tubes together. And on the outer side of each tube, you need to elongate them, or kind of create about a 3-inch slot, or however long you want, or however, to allow adjustment and splay of the tripod or the legs. In between, we've got I think it's called a number 70 chain, and so we got about better, somewhere around a 1 foot length, maybe a little better than that. That's where we're going to hang our chain hoist from. So let me pause this, assemble it. You don't need to watch me connect everything together. Let's do it in stages. Okay, we've got all the legs assembled. We've got the pins in. We've got the safety chain started. Now, what I've discovered is, this is how I first started out, and basically then getting ready to erect it, I'd try to push it up from that end this way, and it's not quite as easy. But let's look at the pins. So basically, keep in mind or envision how this is going to be sitting when it's erected. So I want these pins on facing the outside, the handles, so I'm on the outside of the chains and the tripod, kind of like, we'll call it the lifting area, the kill zone. And then where the chains are hooked up, I also want the chains pulling on the handles or the pins as if it's forcing toward the, let's say, the lift kill zone. So right now I've got a safety chain going from the outside, 2 outside legs, so that when I am lifting it, especially here alone, that it's a protection feature to keep the legs from splaying. Now the pins in the center tube, right now they're facing up. I installed them from the underside, and but the end product is actually going to be, what I found is to help me, you want to position the head roughly in the area of center where you want to be lifting. But what I found is that we're just going to throw this leg over on the other side, and why don't you give me a second while I do that. Okay, so I'm not quite centered where I want to be, but I threw the leg over, and what's going to happen is I will lift it up and then walk it into a vertical position. So I'm going to use that as kind of my standing leg, and as I lift and push it up, that'll anchor it, and slowly the tripod or teepee will kind of erect itself. And again, the safety chain's down here, and then when I get it close enough for all 3 legs to connect, I'll attach this safety chain and the one out there to the end of that leg. So let's go ahead, and what it'll end up is, based on where I've got things laid out, kind of the center is going to end up right about here, and then I'll have to walk it up in place, or maybe when I pause the camera, I might actually move it so I'm closer to the stone I want to lift, or I might even, to save time, is try to position it so it already straddles this, and that's what I usually do. But for this purpose demonstration, I laid it outside it. But this leg I normally would have set up in between here, this leg up here, and that far leg off in the distance on the other side of the pedestal. So give me a second, we'll get started. Okay, so I did realign all the pieces so that now when I lift it up, it's near center over the top of the object I want to lift. And the other thing to keep in mind from experience is make sure you've got your chain in the right position. So this tripod is going to go up, so I want to make sure the chain is hanging looped down. In our earlier versions or setting this up, ended up that the chain was outside the tripod, so then I had to drop it down, flip it over or whatnot. So just think ahead so you're not doubling up on your efforts. So, and when I just repositioned this, these hitch pins with the handles just made it extremely easy to grab and move and readjust the entire assembly. So let's stick it in the air and see what we get. Okay, so here we are. We're partially up. I mean, just I was only gone about 15-20 seconds. You can see the safety chain down here, just to keep things from splaying out. This safety chain here, when I get close enough, or actually that's kind of my target, is to where this leg needs to be. So once my leg is attached to the other safety chain and this one, then I know I'm equidistant and then the weight is evenly distributed. So let's go ahead and finish that task. So we've got it fully erected. You can see our chains hanging there ready for the hoist. And let's take a look at our safety chains down here. You might have to readjust these pins, but again, the concept is with the safety chains, they give you a guide on if your chains are tight and your legs are splayed all the way out so the chains are tight, then the legs are all equidistant because these chains are the same length. And again, you might maybe I rearrange the pin on this one so the pressure is more toward the lift zone. So again, you do have adjustability. Now, this being the first time in a demonstration on the tripod itself, I forgot to attach the chain hoist. And let this be a lesson. When I had it in the earlier position about halfway up, I should have attached the hoist at that point. So now I need to pause and set it back down part way so I can lift the hoist in place. Okay, so we set it back down so I could attach the chain hoist. Notice, remember all these nice handy little pins and these safety chains? So especially since I'm working alone, I chose to basically take the pin from the bottom of the leg where I normally attach the chains. I just moved it up further, got it into a height that was comfortable for me, and then used one of my all these holes I've got in these tubes and pipes, and attached the safety chain while I am attaching this chain hoist. So again, keep in mind safety, safety, safety. So now let's go ahead and push it upright and we'll readjust our chains.